Good morning, traders. I am Emily Bonney, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Wednesday, April 2nd. One word: tariffs. Markets continue to look for direction ahead of the latest from President Trump on tariffs. Yesterday, markets ended a roller coaster of a session mixed. The NASDAQ added 150 points or 0.87%. The S&P 500 was able to hang on to a gain of 21 points or 0.38%. The Dow ended in the red, giving up 11 points or 0.03%. Bill, let's get into Wednesday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, Jess. Good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're negative. We're down 0.84%. And you're right. The markets are, waiting on President Trump's tariff announcement, which is expected to occur, after the market closes, sometime around 4 p.m. Um, Details of the plan are still being worked on. That's what I hear. The situation remains fluid. They don't have a written document yet. They are still working on it, and so something is going to be presented today at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Also, he may indicate his announcement about his decision on TikTok ownership. Oracle does look like it could be Oracle's the obvious choice to own them because they host their data in the cloud. So, it kind of makes sense to me that they would go that way. Tesla, ticker TSLA, they're going to be releasing their Q1 delivery data today. Walmart, hey, they're continuing to put pressure on their Chinese suppliers despite that plea from China's government. Key economic reports today. We got the ADP employment report. Remember, that's like a precursor to Friday's non-farm payrolls report. And then we got factory orders. Those are the two key ones for today. What else do I see? Goldman Sachs lowering its forecast for year-end 2 and 10-year Treasury yields. Ncinco, ticker NCNO, trading lower after earnings miss last night. Restoration Hardware, RH, excuse me, it's RH. It's no longer called Restoration Hardware. RH releasing earnings after the bell today. Those are all interesting. But, taking a look over at Europe real quick, I mean, Europe is seeing some losses, no question about it. Got the DAX down 349 points. That's 1.55%. That's like the lowest all morning long. I mean, pharma's are weak, autos are weak, tech stocks are moving lower. The FTSE's down 69 points or 0.8%. It was down lower, but there is some weakness in pharma and home builders. Okay. The CAC in Paris is down 63 points or 0.82%. The luxury stocks are slightly higher this morning. Because remember, they're better positioned to absorb tariff impacts as compared to, other sectors that have thinner margins. So I'm not surprised to see luxury stocks still being able to trade a little higher. And then we're turning our attention last night to Asia, and we showed that the Nikkei jumped 101 points. That's 0.28%. Gains in heavy industry and video game shares that, kind of offset the losses in pharma and utility stocks. Hong Kong was flat. I mean, it was down 0.02%. Tech stocks and financial stocks rose, while property stocks and consumer stocks fell. China, came out with a gain. I mean, a slight gain, 0.05. I mean, it was flat to higher. Saw some positive action in the financial stocks. Then we're turning our attention to oil, and oil is trading lower this morning. We got WTI at $70.84 a barrel. You got Brent at $74.08 a barrel. Last night we had those API crude oil inventories, which surged by 6 million barrels for the week ending March 28th. I mean, that exceeded the expectations of 1.2 million barrel build. So yeah, when you see that the inventories are surging, it is causing a little weakness this morning. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, we feel like we're in this sort of hurry up and wait situation where we've been anticipating this April 2nd deadline for some weeks now, and we're getting that announcement, as you mentioned, from President Trump at 4 o'clock. So that's an entire trading day that we need to keep track of other information ahead of that announcement, and that's exactly what you're doing. We heard from you some highlights in terms of earnings action. Of course, economic reports, and there's still some other market moving news to follow. You're tracking all of this using your Newsware, and we're going to get to all of those pieces of information throughout the show. We will start with earnings action. Bill, what is going on there?
A little light. I mean, last night after the close, you got NCinco, ticker NCNO, Nancy Charlie Nancy Oscar releasing. Now they delivered a miss of 7 cents, but they did do it on higher revenue. But you look at that stock this morning, and it's getting hit. NCinco is down 33.82%. Not good. After the bell today, you got RH, coming out. RH Incorporated, their earnings are due out. Now their EPS is $1.91, and their expected move is 17.19%. Tomorrow morning, you got Lamb Weston, ticker LW, Larry Williams. Their EPS is 87 cents. The expected move is 12.85%. If you remember last quarter's report, I mean, they delivered a miss, they lowered guidance, the CEO changed. I don't know if things can get worse for the stock, but it is really cheap, and this bar is pretty low. So, I guess I'd be positive on Lamb Weston just because expectations is so low. But they already told you this is not going to be a good year for them, so it's a little difficult to want to jump on board. Apparently, people are not buying frozen French fries, and that's what I have for you in terms of earnings update, Emily.
Bill, in our house, we're still buying plenty of fries, but I guess not enough to keep that stock moving in the right direction. But we will see after those earnings announcements. Speaking of numbers to watch, economic reports, you did mention that ADP report, which again is a precursor to Friday's non farm payrolls. And as we're sort of balancing the economy between tariffs, what the Fed is going to be doing, keeping track of these economic indicators is important each and every trading day. So, Bill, what else do you see as possibly moving the markets today?
Okay, yeah, let's just take a look at really what's happening out there. I mean, today we got the ADP employment report that comes out at 8:15 a.m. this morning. And then you have at 10 a.m. you get the factory orders. That's another key one. What else do we have? And then at 10:30 you have the EIA oil stockpiles reports, which is due out. And then at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be hearing from Fed Governor Adriana Krugler, um, giving a speech this afternoon. Um, in terms of the ADP report, you got to remember last month's reading came in at 77,000 jobs for February. Um, expectations are for 120,000. I mean, I think it could come in hotter because that February number was really low. So I would be surprised to see that come in even hotter than the 120,000 because of how low February was. Um, and, in terms of the factory orders, I mean, the market's expectations for an increase of 0.5%, which is significantly lower than January's 1.7%, plus 1.7% reading. But that could be that's doable. So I think it could actually be stronger than that. So let's keep our fingers crossed for a positive factory orders report beating the expectations. But that's what I have for you in terms of economic data today.
Those certainly may be market moving. And I will point out those were our economic events of the day, not just the other market moving news, the other types of headlines we check. Now we're going to check in on those headlines, Bill, using your Newsware. You're following things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news. You're also looking at your stocks like your FANG stocks group together and your Dow 30 stocks group together. This really helps you track trends on the trading day. So, Bill, now what else do you see as possibly moving markets today?
I'm just doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. Again, I got 25 lower, I got 5 higher. Look at my FANG stocks. I'm seeing losses like 1% across the board on all the FANG stocks. Not good, but remember, we've seen this the last couple of days, and then the market turns, later in the afternoon. But could that happen again today? I don't know. Maybe. I think President Trump's speech is really going to creating a lot of nervousness in the markets right now. But you look at Apple, like Bank of America came out there this morning. They're indicating that Apple's App Store revenue grew 15% year over year in Q2. That's positive. Amazon, ticker AMZN, there's a news report out there saying that they're going to resume making drone deliveries of packages in Texas and Arizona after it halted the program earlier this year. Um, Okay, Google, there's a report out there indicating that White House National Security Advisor Michael Waltz and other staff officials use Gmail when conducting government affairs. That's a big, that's an issue. So, um, we probably won't hear much more on that, but if that's true, that's not good. Um, then we're looking at Dow Jones 30 stocks when we're talking Visa, ticker V, Visa and Amex. They're said to be making bids to win Apple's credit card business. That's interesting. Walmart, hey, they're continuing to pressure Chinese suppliers to cut prices despite, Chinese government asking them not to do that. Boeing, ticker BA, Boy Apple, their CEO, Kelly Ottberg, he's going to be appearing today in front of a Senate Commerce Committee. And yeah, he's going to get some questions, tough questions, but, he's relatively new in the job, and Boeing is kind of like getting their act together. So I expect it to go a lot smoother than what people might think ahead of time. So yeah, I think it's going to be okay. In terms of guidance news, NCINCO, NCNO, the ACQ1 EPS coming in 15 cents to 16 cents, where the street estimate was 21 cents. That's a downtick, 25% downtick. Um, Shareholders meetings, Floor, FLR, they're holding a strategy update event today. That optic fiber communications conference that continues today. Got guys like Broadcom, Cisco, AMD, ANET, Marvel, they're all attending. In terms of buybacks, NCNO and Cinco, they announced a 100 million share repurchasing plan. So that's they're trying to limit that downward spiral, but it's not happening. Stock's down 33% this morning. But that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that Newsware delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, a cautious morning pre-market to be making a pick, but you're going to look for something for us. So what is your pick of the day today?
I'm going to go with Datadog, DDOG, David, Oscar Grace. I mean, I expect to see some morning weakness, but gains later in the day. Yeah, I mean, news hit the tape about the government officials using Gmail. I mean, it could turn out to be positive for cybersecurity stocks. So, I look at yesterday's call volume, 11,224 calls versus 6,566 puts. That's positive, and the major brokers do like the stock. They all got positive ratings on it, but it's about the entry price. I want to get in. I'd like to get it under $99, but I'll say 99 is my entry price because I do think it'll be able to push a dollar higher. But if I can get in at 98.75, that would be sweet. But that's my pick of the day: Datadog, DDOG, David, Oscar Grace, Emily.
Datadog, it is Bill following that news cycle, looking for that entry point, see if you can get a gain there. And coming up, we will do a recap on yesterday's pick of the day before we sign off. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
TKO UFC enters multi-year partnership with Meta Platforms. That's good. PLTR has fallen ahead of Liberation Day. Listen, PLTR, a lot of these defense stocks, the government is called a lot of them in and said you need to cut your budgets here. They need to reduce their budget, so a lot of them are slashing the amount they're going to be charging the government significantly. So yeah, Palantir, Booz Allen, all moving lower because of this. Lanier and Dandelion partner to deploy geothermal resident services. That sounds interesting. Tesla, the delivery date is due before the market opens today. We'll have to see what they say. DJT, Trump Media, files to sell 8.37 million shares of common stock. Biogen, the US FDA, granted fast track designation to one of its drugs. I believe it's an Alzheimer's drug. That's positive. The stock was trading higher. NVO, Novo Nordisk, is a screaming buy according to Alpha Value. I do think it's, I don't disagree. The stock's ultra cheap. Parsons, PSN, selected by Tucson Airport Authority, for airport work. Target launches a collection with Kate Spade, New York. It's a limited time collection, but that's positive for Target. Shares of Target. HIMS, HIMS. They added a generic version of Lilly's Zepbound. Now, Lilly came out and they state they have no relationship with HIMS. There's a patent battle coming here. You know, it's not going to be good for him either. VYGR, Victor Yellow Gray Switcher, they're going to be presenting new data on gene therapy program for Alzheimer's disease. That's all I'm seeing this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we sign off and get to trading on this Wednesday, let's do that check in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was AT&T. You made this pick after the stock made that Goldman list yesterday. I did catch a couple of price target raises on the stock following that news and a couple of outperform ratings as well. You were looking for sort of safety in the telecom sector yesterday as we're navigating these factors with tariffs and the economy. Bill, how did your call work out?
I mean, it was flat. It wasn't a bad call. I mean, the stock opened up at 28.40. Now I had said 28.15. It did fall to 28.22 or 28.20, but it didn't hit my entry price. But then it did rally up to 28.61. So it was really a hair. It was really there, but not the opening price. And since it didn't really hit my entry price, I can't really claim it off the low. Um, you look at the stock this morning, it is trading, higher, 28.52. So, I mean, it was a flat trade, flat to higher. It wasn't a loser. It just was a flat trade. It didn't make the 1% goal, but I still think it was a good call yesterday, Emily.
Listen, in these rocky waters, not a loser. It's definitely a win in my book. And we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Data Dog pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.